There is a phrase or a word in internet parlance called pwning, Pwning. And I don't think Donald Trump uses the word or talks about it or has ever really come across it. But what he did in the past couple days is textbook for that word. And I don't know where it comes from. I don't know who came up with it. I think it might just be a typo because somebody was trying to type the word ownage or owning, and the words, the letters O and P are right next to each other. But that's what he did, and I can't explain it. I like to think about how leaders strategically make their way to the top. I mean, I'm not like some of these guys that they watch House of Cards or whatever, but I do think about it, and I think about it when I watch these leaders. I don't know what makes me get so interested in it. It doesn't have anything to do with what I do for my own life, or at least for my I don't make any money off of that type of work, like these political consultants do. But I think it's just remarkable how things like this just keep happening. And it could be that Donald Trump is the beneficiary of one of the most incompetent institutions in the history of the world. The mass corporate media. I don't use the word mainstream media because at this point mainstream media has technically lost its meaning. A lot of these blogs that were once on the alternate fringe have become part of the mainstream media. The Daily Beast, Daily Kos, Gizmodo, which is part of the decrepit, fallen Gawker empire. Rolling Stone didn't used to be mainstream media. They just become mainstream media somehow. Salon, the New Republic, The Nation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they've been mainstream media for years. But what he's been able to do is basically conduct them like a group of trained SEALs and force them almost to do his bidding. What they think they're doing is providing useful commentary to warn people of all the dangers of supporting Donald Trump. But what's actually happened is that they've cried wolf so many times that nobody really wants to take them seriously anymore. And it might sound like what I'm saying is very simplistic because other people are saying it, especially Trump supporters. They're saying, oh, nobody trusts the mainstream media. Nobody, the belief in them is at an all-time low. Well, let me explain to you why they're saying it. Of course, there are some people that still like the Washington Post or the New York Times. They're lifelong readers of it. They've never thought about dumping it. They would go to their grave with a subscription in hand. That's fine. I mean, people, like I said, people have the right to buy any product or service that they want, especially in this case, products or services that are, informational based. I mean, you can, but I mean, if I was to say that I hate romance fiction and I think that it's complete drivel and it deludes women, does that mean that I can go to the stores and tell them to stop selling these novels? I think the author I keep seeing is V.C. Andrews, and all of the books they just have like these dudes on the cover that basically make Fabio look like Chris Farley. Remember the skit where they're both Chippendale dancers? If I was to say, don't sell that to them, it's unrealistic, it's a complete lie, what would they say to me? This is America, go fuck yourself. And that's the way it is. We have mainstream media or mass corporate communications, which is, let's call it the MCC. And I'm not saying it just to try to be original. I'm just saying that the mainstream media is not the be-all and end-all of it. We're talking about corporations that are just trying to drive numbers and buffering these corporations from reality. You got basically these morons that they hire from, you know, these liberal arts colleges, or they've all gone to the same clubs or whatever, if they haven't gone to college. We even had a deputy national security advisor for Obama, Ben Rhodes. He's basically cut from the same cloth as them. You can go to any of these, even so-called alternative outlets. I saw the Real News Network, which is something that I've been doing a few projects on lately. They hired Max Blumenthal. Now, for a network that's talking about, you know, supporting Bernie and supporting the progressive movement and whatever, they hired the son of Hillary Clinton's media hatchet man, Sidney Blumenthal, because he happens to have very critical views of Israel. So I'll give you a piece of advice. You can go and hire somebody, if that's your editorial line. What I would suggest is you should hire somebody who is very critical of Israel. Very, you know, let's not even call it like aggressively hostile to Israel. I mean, this is America. You are allowed to publicize things even if they're not popular. However, if you cannot expect to be taken seriously if you're hiring the son of the person who is considered to be the originator of the birther movement against Barack Obama. If you're one of these people that you're all about, oh, I don't want to believe in this racism and stereotypes and xenophobia towards Barack Obama, and then you hire the son of the person who originated one of the main narratives that were against him from the beginning of his administration, it's hard to take you seriously anymore. Now, the truth is that the Real News is already very hostile to Obama because of his betrayals of the progressive movement, but that's neither here nor there. What we're talking about is how do media organizations retain their credibility. And if you look at the past decade or so, just the way that media has developed, and originally, you know, there was already a shift from print to online news sources. Then everybody knows that social media tore the whole model apart. These reporters are I mean, if you watch that skit or segment by John Oliver called Stoplight, which is parodying the movie Spotlight, that's one of the best representations, even though I'm not a huge fan of John Oliver. That's one of the best comedic takes on the current state of the media. You have these newsrooms that are staffed by people that are desperate to remain relevant. You can't have these guys that are working months at a time on a developing story. They don't encourage in-depth journalism like that anymore. So then you get a situation like what you have on the left over here. These are all outlets. I mean, they're making fun of the New York Times and Washington Post here, but it might as well be CNN included. These are outlets. They are desperately in need. They're like vampires wandering in the night all the time. They desperately need that scoop of a story. They must have it. They can't deal without it. So it's been like that for a while. And along came a person who said, you know what? I'll give you that story, and I'll give you more than you bargained for. You will bite off more than you can chew, and then you'll want more than that. And that's exactly what Mr. Trump did as a candidate. People were begging him to run. That's what John Oliver did. He actually went on video and he said, do it. And I'm not going to run the clip. I think I might get a copyright strike because of the clip. But the basic gist of it is that these people, they saw him as a sideshow, as a distraction. They knew that in their mind, it was very likely that the next presidential race would be between Clinton and Bush and Clinton. Jeb Bush was at the time considered a very heavy contender for the presidency. I remember he had Peyton Manning backing him. and Hillary Clinton had a massive infrastructure in place. Nobody thought Bernie Sanders was going to come along and complicate things for her either. That was before that. So they needed somebody to really make it interesting. It was not an interesting race at the time. And Donald Trump came and did that. He started talking about issues like immigration and the border wall, trade deals, things that were they were out of left field for many people that weren't paying attention to them like me. I don't live near the southern border, so I don't really care as much about immigration as a lot of these Americans living in rural areas do. This was a blind spot for many Americans. And then you talk about trade deals for industrial Americans. They had already been scarred by NAFTA. These were people that they couldn't depend on the same people because they were just being delivered the same garbage over and over again. It was unacceptable. So they did turn to Donald Trump and allow them to turn to Bernie Sanders. And the mass communications industry was, they were confused at first, but they said, let's keep riding it. Let's keep riding the tiger. This guy is such an outrageous buffoon that he can be our story. We will report on him as if he was the Hindenburg crashing. We'll show all the gory detail. And then there were headlines. I remember one of the headlines, I think it was in Washington Post, where they said Trump must not only be defeated, he must be humiliated. And they were trying to make the point that somebody with his opinion, somebody like that, Donald Trump, must be completely repudiated by the American voter, because they needed it to be a climax. They wanted it to be this colossal failure, this pratfall where he falls straight on his face and doesn't get up, and they could revel in it. That's what they were out for. They were out for blood. They were out for Donald Trump's dignity. They wanted to do that. And a lot of people for a long time, I was considering whether to vote at all. I didn't like Donald Trump. I'd actually voted in the primary here for John Kasich. And I thought that when we staved off Donald Trump in this primary, this was going to be kind of his Waterloo. He would end up being turned back, and from state after state after that, he would end up, the Republicans would end up nominating Ted Cruz or somebody, and maybe the race would return to normal or whatever. I didn't like the media circus about it. I didn't like the fact that I thought that my economic beliefs were being trampled on by somebody who, Donald Trump wasn't the person who I thought was the best representative of the free market. And you could debate that all you want, but the fact is that he is somebody who did take corporate bailouts a couple times. So, a lot of Americans went through trust issues with this candidate. They went through trust issues with other candidates too, with Bernie Sanders, with Ted Cruz, with Hillary Clinton. People go through trust issues with a candidate. So but what the media ended up doing, he loses Ohio by not a tremendous margin. And what did the media end up doing? They don't focus on the other candidate that won, John Kasich, who himself is kind of a joke. They don't focus on him. They didn't focus on any of the other candidates when they also beat Trump, like Cruz or Rubio, because the real money getter, the real face of the race was Donald Trump. They had nothing to. They weren't going to have ratings talking about Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is only interesting to a select number of people. I think they did some focus group, and it was mostly like middle-aged women that thought he was like, the perfect husband for their for their niece or whatever. It was that's basically how the race was going. So they needed somebody to drive the ratings up, and they loved it. The debates, they were making gangbusters on, and then analyzing the debates. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, the broadcast networks, they needed this. It was great for them. How could they go wrong? And how, the longer it went on, they loved it when Trump won the nomination. They hated it that it was now, that they were proven wrong so many times. But then, during the race itself, the actual presidential race, I think they really went into panic. And they realized that they'd almost, they pretty much got themselves addicted to heroin. They needed the Trump boost in order to continue to rise in their ratings, in order to get people to come out or actually just tune in and watch whatever's going on. They didn't have anything else that was interesting. How many times can they do plane crash, stop everything, let's report on it every 5 minutes? It wasn't working at CNN. So they needed this guy, and this guy could supply endless hours of entertainment. And then he gets elected president, and they get embarrassed on live TV. And they don't care. They don't care that they're just a complete joke. And they'll continue publishing polls from the same agencies that they made mistaken models of the election. They're taking the same. They're taking opinion surveys from those agencies and posting them, saying, "Oh, he has a low approval rating. He's people don't trust him. People don't support his agenda or whatever." These are the same agencies that have been failures consistently for years and years and years. And then you compound that with the fact that they started covering Senate special election or House special elections, 4 of them. They started covering special elections. CNN has never cared ever about special elections. And then it just became obvious. And Donald Trump took their momentum and hit a grand slam on them. And that's the way I think we're going to end today. This is somebody, I think he's conscious. Sorry, I'm kind of drowsy right now, but he's conscious that these mainstream media outlets are a joke. They are not really taking seriously their own jobs as editors and as producers and all that. It was revealed in the Project Veritas video from Friday that they don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. All they want is the ratings. It's all about the ratings. It's all about the exposure. It's all about putting out the message that they think is going to make more average voters support them. And it didn't work out. And this is what they have. And they have themselves to thank for it. Yes, there's plenty of things you can blame Donald Trump for. You always falling for his tricks is not something you can blame him for. He is totally pwning these people. And they just can't take a hint that they need to shut the fuck up and do something useful. Maybe talk about real problems that are going on. You could talk about fracking. Why not talk about fracking? A lot of people are against it. I don't know much. I know a little about it, but I don't know enough about it to formulate an opinion. What does CNN do? They don't do fuck about it. They don't give a shit about the real problems that people are worrying about. And people do know that. The Trump opponents on the grassroots level, they know that CNN is lying to them. And they would rather have a different network or at least different independent media to come after both the Democratic and Republican parties. And I'd like the same thing for me. I'd like a outlet to go after the Republican Democratic parties from the free market side in order to facilitate more business. But that's, we're not getting that from CNN or Fox News or MSNBC. They've all seemingly caved to their profit motive. So that's it for today. This is Ramon's telling you to just chill out, okay? These tweets, how can you really not look at this and say he has their number? They just don't. They really don't have. Those of you that are saying, oh, you're fucking playing with us, how can you say that he's smart? Did you read those tweets? They're retarded. No, the people that took the tweets are retarded. Seriously, are retarded. The Sally Cohns, who's freaking out trying to get people to impeach him for, by virtue of the 25th Amendment. Sorry, I got all this gel in my hair. I was at a wedding. Those are the morons. Those are the idiots. They have to chill the fuck out and start talking about things that matter. And instead you have Sally Cohn waddling over on the TV screen, pretending to be a woman or whatever. I still can't believe it. I don't care who says it. She looks like a dude. And she's going to continue to take the pain like a dude because she just won't shut the fuck up. I saw her earlier. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. She's growling at the other commentator, I think her name was Kayleigh McEnany, about being unpresidential. Sally Cohn, I remember that one time you were on a debate with, I think her name is Liz McCoy or whatever. She's a New York Republican, and you were rolling your eyes at the camera, making faces like some sort. No, you can't just, if you're not behaving professional yourself, then nobody should care whether you're criticizing anybody else as professional. Anybody. It doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump or not. I have an amateur video channel on YouTube. I can behave any way I fucking want. You work for a multinational conglomerate that is sucking the soul out of news. So you do have to behave like a professional. And when you don't behave like a professional, people take notice and then they call you out on it, which is what I'm doing now. So anyway, it's Ramon, bold like a leopard. Stay bold. Let me know what you think about the Trump tweets. And I think you guys should chill out too. But if you're, I like that cartoon to the left, obviously. I made it the background. If you can't get enough of this, then maybe you're like me. This just keeps energizing you. So have a great night and a great week. And happy 4th of July upcoming. Celebrate our country's history. I got to put the flag up, but believe me, I will.